Is a 2013 movie called Prisoners. This IMDb plot summary: when Keller Dover's daughter and her friend go missing, he takes matters into his own hands as the police pursue multiple leads and pressure mounts. So this was a movie that I saw on video or at home, maybe like the year it came out or maybe a year after. This is the first time I'd ever heard of or seen anything by Denis, and it was because several of my friends were like, "Oh my God, this movie's incredible! You have to watch it." And like I was teasing in the opening, I just had such a visceral, like negative reaction to this movie. It was like drinking poison or something that I just was like, whoever this person is, this director, I can never stomach anything that he kind of does again. And I think so. To get more a little bit into the plot, so Hugh Jackman plays the main character whose daughter does get kidnapped, and he has there in this town. There's a sort of mentally challenged person who he thinks is the suspect that kidnapped the kid, even though the police have no evidence, and he ends up kidnapping him and essentially torturing him in just really horrific ways that the movie shows, to
Mm-hmm.
try to get him to to confess to the crime and to tell him where his kids are. And it was an interesting character study, right? Like, what lengths will you go to try to save your child in terms of what Hugh Jackman ends up doing? But not only is he complicit in torture of this person who, yeah, it turns out to be innocent, but even if he wasn't, was this still something that you should be condoning? Pulling in then his friend whose also daughter was taken, pulling him into his sort of this down into the darkness of what he's dealing with, pulling in then that person's wife, and then even the police officer played by Jake Gyllenhaal is sort of trying to do what's right. And then even him sometimes goes in kind of into the dark side, which again, all this being said, does make for an interesting movie in terms of moral quandaries. But what I think makes this hard for me to stomach, not only those horrible torture scenes of him torturing Paul Dano, who's the suspect, but
Mm-hmm.
Hugh Jackman, the movie almost doesn't take a stance on passing judgment on him in any way. The movie quickly becomes, okay, well, now it's just a normal sort of like Seven knockoff, like the Fincher film at the end where Jake Gyllenhaal finds the real killer and, wins, gets the killer, arrested or dies. I can't remember what happened. Like, it solves the crime, but the movie never really kind of properly goes back, I think, to the Hugh Jackman piece and punishes him in any meaningful way. Because that to me is like Hugh Jackman's almost more the villain than even the child kidnapper in this movie in terms of what he puts Paul Dano through, which you don't really even get to see the after effects of that either. The movie kind of drops the Hugh Jackman torturing Paul Dano piece and just goes right into just a normal kind of cat and mouse cop thriller. So I think that is what just I was like, no, you have to. If you're not taking a stance on what Hugh Jackman did, are you condoning what he did? And then that just what doesn't sit well with me.
Mm-hmm.
What's your impression of this film, and when did you see it?
Yeah, I think I probably saw it on video, meaning at home, like after Sicario, I think, because I then seeked it out. I'd heard it was a very hard watch, and it was a very hard watch. I don't think I'm ever watching that movie again.
Hmm.
But like you said, was blown away, of course, by the filmmaking and kind of the tension of it all. The performances are great across the board.
They
It
are,
kind of,
yes.
sucks you in this vortex that, so you can't leave once you're in it for sure. But I agree with you. Like the torture stuff, it's too much. Who is a fan of watching that, I suppose, but
There are some
maybe
people
I guess
probably.
some people are. So that was it's a lot,
Hmm.
and but I agree with you. I wouldn't frame it as that, oh, he should have been punished, but I would have loved to see Hugh Jackman sort of deal with the ramifications of this, right?
Right,
Like,
right.
where are you at now after everything that you've done and the people that you dragged in? What has this done to your psychology and where are you at? Like, I think that
Hmm.
would have been nice to see, and that's not at all tying something in a neat bow at all.
No,
Like, it
no.
actually makes the movie
Right.
more complex. So I think you can sort of see that this director is still maybe coming of age and sort of figuring things out. Or who knows, maybe this was like a producer note that they wanted to then come in and make this cat and mouse movie, and that's
True.
it. And who knows? I sort of want to believe like Denis would want to tell a more complex story, but ultimately it doesn't end up being that. That said, everything leading up to it and the complexities of what these people are doing and who's in the wrong and who's in the right, that's all there,
Yes,
and
it
you can
is.
sort of make your own judgments on where you stand. And if you're,
Yeah, that's definitely true, and I like movies that are, ambiguous to that and letting the audience decide. I think kind of what you were touching on earlier, the failing of this movie for me is the fact that we should see the impact of Hugh Jackman's decisions on him and then on Paul Dano more viscerally. So then we can decide, was it worth the cost to Hugh
Hmm.
Jackman's quote unquote soul or the horrible things that they did to Paul Dano's body, which they don't even show. So that to
Hmm.
me almost makes me feel like the movie's taking a stance of saying, well, this is clearly fine because look, Hugh Jackman's probably going to be rescued at the end, and yeah, Paul Dano's fine. There's a newspaper article, his face on it. It's fine. It's fine. And that whether it was a studio note, like you said, or just what the writer or Denny wanted to do, like that, I think is what rubbed me the wrong way in this film. But
Hmm.
Hi there, it's Alex. If you like the review and discussion Karan and I just had, make sure you subscribe to our channel, Movies That Shaped Us, to get full episodes. Every other Wednesday, Karan and I review a new release and then discuss 6 other movies made by that film's actor or director and how they shaped us. Subscribe right now or follow our podcast on Spotify or Apple Podcasts via the link in the description below. Hope you join us for the journey.